Alright, we're back out at the farm plot, and I'm doing a soil test out here, just so I can get an idea of what my uncle's got the soil looking like before I get caught blindsided by some deficiency that he doesn't know about because it's not relevant, because he didn't grow cotton. I'm sure everything will be fine, but I'm going to preventatively feed these guys boron this year, and probably a little bit of manganese sulfate, just to be safe. I'm out here looking at the general character of the leaves, and they do look to be yellowing a bit as they get younger. So to me that says they could probably use some sulfur. And I am noticing some of this going on, and I'm not sure what's causing this, but I will look into that. It's not the same as the manganese deficiency I was seeing last year. That looks similar to this, but it was really focused up here along these veins, and it was next to the veins. It wasn't in between the veins. That's something else that I gotta look up. But yeah, as you saw there, they're getting ready to flower. I'm a hazard to guess they'll be flowering by the end of next week. Let's see, this is another thing. Some of these squares are flaring out, and I seem to recall that being a symptom of something. So I'll look into those. I just don't want to be caught off guard like I was last year. There's the transplants. That's what I expected them to look like. Don't got too much confidence in them. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I'm kind of banking on that. But as I've heard my uncle complain so many times, hey, you can't depend on the weather, man. It never rains when he says he is. That's another thing I gotta look at. It's similar but different, but that's definitely nutrient related. So yeah, I'm just going through and cataloging any potential deficiencies I see so I can try and nip them in the bud. I don't think they're really going to be lacking in anything. They just may be in excess in something, and that's just something I got to identify so I know to ignore it, because it can't really take much out of the dirt at this point. There's a stink bug. I don't like stink bugs. So you see this? You can't really tell because the camera's got HDR on it and stuff, but this leaf looks very yellow to me. It's not super yellow, but it's yellower than it needs to be. You compare it down to this leaf down here, which is much darker. Can't really get the two in the same. There we go. You can see the difference there. This one over here is darker, this one's yellower. I want to try and fix that. So I think a little bit of manganese sulfate should correct that. Did last year. I didn't even notice the sulfur deficiency last year. I just preemptively sprayed manganese sulfate because I was seeing manganese looking deficiencies, and all of a sudden the plants got really green. So yeah, I guess this is pretty yellow too. So can't hurt. Probably gonna need to do, see if they're showing sulfur deficiencies, then they probably have boron deficiencies. It's probably gonna do 10 ounces of manganese sulfate and an ounce of boron. Just direct spray on all these plants. The transplants won't really get it because they're gonna drop all their leaves, but they got bigger problems. And I can always spray them again later. Alright, we got this year's foliar feeding mixed up. We went with 1 ounce of orthoboric acid. Think 5 ounces of manganese sulfate and 4 or 5 ounces of potassium sulfate. I wrote it all down, I just don't have it with me. So, as you can see, they're looking real pale yellow compared to what the older growth is. So they're definitely low on sulfur. However, I'm not really seeing any lack of manganese, which is why I'm only applying about half as much as I would have normally done, because I'm not seeing any manganese deficiency signs. However, we are still seeing hints of potassium deficiency, and I'm certain they have enough potassium. I just think they're growing too fast and they're not able to get it out of the ground, because I mean, look at these things. They're already 4 foot. So I think they're just putting on so much growth so fast that they can't get enough potassium out of the roots. So I'm helping them along a little bit, and then that'll give me the necessary sulfur that I also need that I can't apply because I'm not doing manganese. And if that doesn't work, I've got some ammonium sulfate I can throw on there as well. Although, I don't think they need any more nitrogen with how fast they're growing. And I've got enough growth on these transplants that I think they'll get a healthy dose too. Though it is looking like I'm losing some of them. Alright. Fertilizing is done. Not sure what that is. I think that's a nugget of manganese sulfate or possibly potassium sulfate. For whatever reason that didn't dissolve. I don't think it's a precipitate considering everything that was in there. I had plenty of water. I think I had an excess of water, so I think I didn't let it stew long enough. So that's probably about a half ounce of manganese sulfate, which won't make a difference. At least that's what I hope that is. So yeah, I think this guy right here is going to be our best plant of comparison. I don't know which one that is. It's about the 10th one in 1-2B, but it's just really yellow. So if that one greens up, then we'll definitely know. We'll see if I killed the plants or not. I really had to go back and forth about 8 times because I did not have the application rate high enough in the sprayer. It took quite a bit of time to get all 2 gallons of that out. Alright, it's the next day. As you can see, cod's not blue. So I think I was lied to. They look normal. Guess we'll check back in a week and see if they're darker. So it's been about 10 days now, and as you can see, it hasn't really made a difference. I'm not seeing any more potassium signs. Not really. I think what I'm just seeing down there is senescence of old leaves. I think they're just growing so dang fast that they can't keep pace. I do see a shed boll though. So that's not good. That's what it does when it's low on boron. Which is why I sprayed the boron. So hopefully that shouldn't keep doing that. And if you look down here, we got a fat old boll coming in already with a damn stink bug on it. That one's gonna be rotten. So it looks like the sulfur, just like the potassium, is less about what's available and more about how much they can get out the ground. See, here's another shed boll. That could be water related or that could be nutrient related. If they get a little too much water, they start dropping them. So yeah, so they're not really, they haven't darkened up at all, but they are growing just fine. And they're putting out flowers just fine, and they seem to be holding on to most of the bolls, although every time I think that, I find another one that's bad. So they may just be growing too fast. They're putting out too much vegetative growth and they don't have enough left over to hold fruit. We'll see as the season progresses, but they're doing way better than they were last year. Alright, so we just got the soil analysis in for Pease Hill, where the farm plot for the 2020 cotton is, and, you know, honestly, that should have been what I was expecting. I thought my uncle would have had the pH a little bit higher. I was expecting excessive levels of potassium, as well as phosphorus. The soils around here are just always high in phosphorus. But I'm glad I did both a manganese and a boron and a sulfur foliar application, because these don't look much different than the Hutchinson house as far as the amount of manganese, the amount of boron, and this test doesn't give you sulfur because it doesn't give you nitrogen either, because those require a different type of test and they need an additional soil sample and payment to do that. so I'm not worried about either of those that much since they're so mobile. So I'll just treat those as needed, and I'm sure there's not a nitrogen deficiency anyway. But yeah, this basically just reconfirms that what I just did was necessary. But other than that, soil looks good. I mean, the pH is a little low, but you know, it is the southeast. It's always low. Yeah, I don't know why they have potassium deficiency signs because they're, you know, off the chart. Honestly, it's actually pretty low in phosphorus now that I look at it. Most everywhere else, you're seeing it in the 300, the 400, the 500 range, and that's only sitting at 170. So that's kind of interesting, actually. Looks like my uncle's not doing anything super special other than he's got a buttload of potassium. It's kind of encouraging, actually, because that means all I really need to do is add irrigation, get the soil organic matter levels up, and add a buttload more potassium. And I can do that that's easy to do. And probably some more nitrogen as well. So I guess until next time, Tom out.